Alright, what's up guys? Luthier back after a year. Yeah, it's been a really long time, and I know I made promises to upload over the summer, but I got really busy, and with the slam run going on, I just kind of like forgot just to do everything that I promised I would. So I'm decided that I will be uploading every single slam set that I played this summer. So yeah, even the round one Uber losses, those will be uploaded this summer. So if you guys were looking forward to that, I'm sorry last summer, but this year it should be a new year. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off with the first video of this year by talking to you about my LCPL game against Lopunny Kicks, or Lopunny Kicks, not really sure how to properly pronounce it, but yeah, so let me just walk you through the team that I made. So this is basically my Corefish plus Timber team. It's very it was made around the fact that it was supposed to try to bully out funguses, which I really expected him to bring. Actually, Corefish is kind of a monster in this aspect, so let me show you some calcs that are nice against a whatchamacallit, fungus. So basically, Corefish is going to be able to knock the fungus off, which does 6 to 8 HP, right? And it's sitting on 25 HP. So even if it gets hit with 6 HP, let's say it's at fungus will be at 19. Once it's knocked off, once it is knocked off, the Corefish's Z move is actually going to be doing 17, 18. So even like after rocks which will be doing 2 HP damage to the fungus, so that's going to be 2 HP from rocks, so you're at 23, 6 min roll, so you're at 17, and even if you min roll both the knockoff and the Z move on the fungus, you're going to be able to knock out the fungus. So that's something really important to know, because that's why I am running Adamant. Most people run Jolly on Dragon Dance Corefish, because Jolly, you're at 14, and at +1 you're going to be able to outspeed any non-scarfed mon in the tier. So that's why people run Jolly, but I didn't feel like running 14 speed would be that much better over running 13 speed, because at +1 you're going to be able to knock out most of those Pokemon that you're really scared of with the Aqua Jet anyway. So you're able to knock out that Abra, or at least bring it down to its Focus Sash at 1 HP if you are at +1 with the Corefish anyway. So that's one of the main reasons that I chose to run Adamant over Jolly. I know I was talking to Luthier about that, but either way, let me just get into the team building process. So I started off with these two, as I said. This is going to be able to pressure those funguses, which I expected him to bring, especially in a more standard build. Also, Corefish is very good at breaking standard builds like those Mienfoo offenses. Corefish absolutely annihilates it, especially this specific Z move set. Then I wanted a fighting resist, so I brought in Spritzy, and Life Orb Abra is just one of, I think, really underrated sets right now. Yeah, there's Ryzen Trapinch, but most of them don't bring it hard in on a full health Abra, because they simply fear that why would I lose my Diglett just to bring down Abra to its sash. So I was talking to Shrug about this. Basically, one of the biggest proponents for using Life Orb Abra, but my set is basically going to be able to hit just a regular Psychic Stab, substitute for being able to abuse the fact that most mons will switch out on this, and then HP fighting for the Poniard and other annoying dark types. Well, actually it's just mainly for Poniard, but and I guess you could say it's run for Ferroseed as well, but I really think that HP fighting is important on this set. And then we have Dazzling Gleam, that's going to be able to knock out Volbees after rocks. And then of course after I looked at this, it seemed pretty flying weak. I had 0 flying resist, especially Volbee looked really annoying for this team, simply because I didn't have rocks. This Corefish doesn't exactly outspeed the Vullaby on +0. So I decided to add an Onyx, which is going to be able to soft check that, and then I added Explosion just for giggles, I guess. I really didn't see myself needing Protect. But I probably should have ran Protect in this game, which I will explain later. But next we have Spit Off Vullaby. Now I felt like I was really weak to Ghastly, which in reality I was, especially if my opponent had Life Orb Ghastly. I was not going to be able to tank or Life Orb Sucker Ghastly. I wasn't going to be able to deal that with Abra. Like, obviously I had to come in and then click Substitute, and then it became a hassle from there, but it wasn't really great for me. So as a result, I went back. This is after the Onyx. I went back and I realized, alright, how do I deal with this Ghastly, Life Orb Ghastly issue? So I made Timber into Spit Off Timber, which is going to be able to live a Psychic, or let me show you. It's going to be able to live a Life Orb Psychic from a Ghastly. Let me just show you. Yeah, so Psychic is normally going to be able to knock out Timber, but with this, even with the Rock Step, you're most likely not going to be knocked out. In normal cases where you don't really run much Spit F, you're going to be knocked out after Rocks, and even if you ran like 11 Spit F, you're still going to most likely be knocked out after Rocks. So that's why I decided to run the 12 Special Defense Timber. And then I also obviously ran Psychic on Spritzy as a lure for Ghastly. And last but not least, I also saw that I was pretty Fungus weak. Yeah, I had Waste of Pressure Fungus, but with Corphish, Timber, and Abra, they're all Waste of Pressure. But Fungus came in pretty freely on Spritzy and on Onyx, and I just got a Spore off, or just really annoyed me. So that's why I decided to add the Spit Off Overcoat Vullaby. That's going to be able to tank those Spores. Well, not exactly tank, but like absorb the Spores and then get off momentum with U-turn and then knock off. So that's basically the team, and I just want to yeah, I guess that's really it. But I'll explain my thought processes in this game right here. So yeah, don't mind the avatar, but anyways, going back, this is LCPL week 1 versus Lopunny Kicks. Lopunny Kicks, OST semifinalist. He's a good player. I didn't really think he had tier experience over me though, since I've been playing this tier for a while now. So yeah. Anyways, going into this game, what I was thinking was, wow, Corphish is really good. He doesn't really have a water resist outside of Fungus. If I can knock this off, I will be able to kill it with the Z water move, and then Corphish just goes in by just clicking Crab Hammer every time. However, I really never got that opportunity. The only way I would really be able to get in Corphish though is on his Onyx, like force him to switch out on the Feared Aqua Jet, or maybe if this Timber, maybe if the Timber was really low, like around at like 50 HP or so, I could come in with the Crab Hammer and just start clicking that. However, like Corphish wasn't bad in this matchup. It's just the fact that it didn't really get chances to come in anywhere. It was also important for the priority move against Ghastly and Magnemite. So and then I also looked at Timber. Timber seemed really nice, especially with the 12 defense Timber, special defense Timber. It's going to be probably able to lure in the Ghastly with its with the Psychic, and going to be able to knock it out with the knockoff. Timber just seemed overall just really nice. It had coverage for every single Pokemon. It had Mach Punch for the Magnemite, had the Ice Punch after Rocks for the Vullaby, obviously Drain Punch for the Onyx, and then Ice Punch for the Fungus. I really want to get rid of his Timber so my Timber can just keep on pressuring him out. And then Spritzy was obviously my fighting check, so basically it's going to be only there for Timber. I don't really need it for much else. We have Abra, and Abra just goes in. Once I get Rocks up, it's going to be able to knock out this Vullaby. Once I just slightly chip or knock off this Onyx, that Onyx is gone. Even Fungus, normally it takes I don't know if it takes a Modest, but it's like rolls, but it takes a timid Psychic after Rocks from an Abra, and with Life Orb, it will no longer be able to do that. Then I knock out the Ghastly, obviously, and the Timber. So, and I obviously running HP Fighting, which is going to be able to have good coverage for the Magnemite. So, just looking at Abra looked really good from team preview. It's just a matter of can I get a substitute up on any of these mons and then pressure the Magnemite that way. Then Onyx is going to be my Volibee check and my Volt switch answer. So this is going to be able to, well, not answer, but it's going to be prompting him not to be clicking Volt switch as often because I have my Onyx, and then obviously I have my Volibee to deal with the Fungus and the Ghastly possibly. So going right in, I lead off Onyx, and speaking of Onyx, I personally think this turn 1 was probably the worst turn 1 I could have asked for starting off this LCPL. So leading off Onyx was not a good idea because I should have noticed that I was already pressured out heavily by Magnemite. Magnemite basically beats every single lead that I have outside of Timber. So I should have probably just let off with Timber because his ways of beating Timber are really non-existent. Like if he goes into Volibee, that's perfectly fine because I still have my Onyx. If he goes into Fungus, then I have my Volibee, which is still fine. And then if he has his Timber, I have my Spritzy. Other than basically those 3 mons, if he let Ghastly, Onyx, or Magnemite, Timber beat all of them and pressured them out while getting a knockoff off. So I really feel like I misplayed this turn 1, but it's completely fine because turn 1 I discovered that my intuition was true. He was Scarf Magnemite. So I predicted his Flash Cannon, so I might as well. I went to my Volibee because my Volibee was Spit F, and I could try to U-turn out and get momentum that way. It also covered him switching to his Fungus, so that was kind of nice. He doesn't know that I am in fact weak armor, so I guess he scouted for the Sturdy on the Onyx and went out into his Fungus because he couldn't risk his Magnemite turn 1 like that. So I indeed did make the volley play right here, and looking at this turn, I didn't really understand. I thought he was scouting for Scarf Onyx at first, but yeah, in this meta, basically every single Onyx is weak armor. There's not like a single Onyx that really runs Berry Juice anymore. It's really not that good because it gets knocked off and then doesn't get the weak armor boost after to pressure out Scarf Mons, which is really annoying for it. So yeah, it's just important to note that, I guess. And then looking here, I think knockoff is incredibly free. If he goes into Onyx, that's what it is. But like I have an incredibly free knockoff. If in the end, if he goes to Onyx, I have a really nice switch into Timber, or I could go into Spritzy or into my own Onyx to get pressure with Rock. So I do indeed switch into my Onyx. His plays include clicking Stealth Rocks, which he most probably will, but there's no need for me to risk my Volibee to U-turn to get chip. So I just go into my Onyx, and this will allow me to pressure out his Onyx. If he goes for a Rock Blast, then my weak armor triggers twice or more, so I'll be faster than this Onyx no matter what. So he ends up, yeah, just getting up his Rocks. And to be fair, I think Timber was a better play here, but I don't want getting any chip. If I got chipped with my Timber, then Ghastly came in, and if it had Psychic, it would be able to knock me out. So that's why I preserved this Timber right here. Spritzy seemed like a fine play. I just didn't want to keep on pressured out by Fungus, and then eventually my Volibee would take more and more chips, especially with the Rocks up. It'd keep on taking chips. So I think Onyx was a decent play here. It tried to cover both those problems, and I get up my own Rocks here as he goes into his Fungus. Now, yeah, I do have my Volibee here, but it's important that it's taking a lot of damage, so I have to be cautious with that. So I do in fact go into my Volibee because that's my main Fungus answer, as he goes for Sludge Bomb. Now, I have two choices here. I can either click Knockoff, or I can predict the obvious Onyx and go for the U-turn. Now, I really want to go for the U-turn, however, I think that was a poor play. Clicking U-turn and him for some reason staying in and then clicking Spore would be very, very bad for my team. I could lose so much momentum if he for some reason clicks that. So I decided to just go for the more safe play and just click knockoff. Again, I am chipping this Onyx and it's doing like 30% every time, so I'm still in a decent position. This time I go into Spritzy. Again, I cannot let that Timber take any damage. If I let it take damage, then it no longer lives that Psychic from the Ghastly. So he does go for the Earthquake, and I go for the Wish. I really wish I stayed in and clicked Psychic, but the more safe play, I guess, for him would have been to go with Fungus, and I don't think Fungus is. Let me check the calc. I'm fairly certain that it's close, but the Fungus does not get knocked out even after rocks by 2 Psychics from. Yeah, it's like a very low chance. Like you have to get 1 max roll. It's very unlikely that it happens. So I just kind of let it go and said, yeah, I'm just gonna wish up on my Spritzy. So I wished up on the Spritzy, and I'll explain to you why I made the Onyx play. Now, his Ghastly has a couple of choices here. You can obviously try to click the move in front of him, which I have basically 0 resist for outside of this Onyx. He can click Substitute on the Vullaby, which stuff could go incredibly bad with that. And if he did click Substitute, then I lose my Vullaby completely, and I don't get to punish like the Ghastly. So I decided that Vullaby wasn't the right play. If Corphish and Timber, these Timber again, I said I wanted to bring it on the Ghastly while it was at full health, so I could pressure it out later. And then Corphish, obviously I wanted to keep it healthy, so it could come in on Onyx, maybe on an Earthquake or something like that. So the reason I made the Onyx play is because it covered the Substitute play by pressuring her with Rock Blast. It covered the Sludge Bomb play because Onyx resists it, and then I also get health back with the Wish, and it should cover the basically covers all the plays he could possibly make at the point. So I go ahead and go to Onyx as he tries to predict my Vullaby by clicking Thunderbolt. So this was a really nice turn. It was a pretty big momentum shifter. It was already like looking somewhat in my favor, but yeah, he went ahead and clicked Thunderbolt. So he goes into Fungus here, and I decided to double out to Vullaby because his plays include most likely his plays are going to be going to Timber, or he's going to go to Fungus. So I decided to double out to Vullaby. Now looking back, if I really wanted to make that super aggressive play of predicting something on that turn, I should have just doubled out to Abra. Like if I wanted to pressure Timber and Fungus, because in the end, like all I did really was take more chip for my Vullaby. Like that's not something I really wanted to do, right? So yeah, Abra was probably the better play there. However, since I didn't really feel like risking such a big win con turn 10, it wasn't that far into the game. That's why I just made the cleaner mid ground, I guess, into Vullaby. The reason I made the double in the first place is because I didn't want him to go into Fungus and then him to click Sludge Bomb, which literally just almost kills my Vullaby after rocks. Or well, not almost, but it's just taking so much chip that I don't think it's healthy to have Vullaby as that only answer. So that's why I doubled out to the Vullaby. That way I would be able to pressure out one of these two without having to take any more chip than rock. So that's why I double out to the Vullaby, and then I go ahead. This time I decided, yeah, it's a pretty big risk, but he's playing pretty like not conservatively, but he's making all the right plays, so he should obviously go to Onyx here. So I decided, all right, let me just take a smaller risk and U-turn. And those like last three plays were really pivotal because it just gave me a lot of momentum on my side. So that's something really nice. I go to Timber here because it just simply pressures everything. I click and I say, okay, maybe I'm just gonna click Mach Punch because my choices right now are Spritzy, Corphish, and Timber. Timber is gonna be able to deal with every single Mong outside of Fungus. Corphish doesn't really deal with everything amazing. Like obviously I'm gonna click Aqua Jet or Mach Punch with these two priority mons, and if he goes into if he goes into Ghastly on the Aqua Jet like Revenge, then it's a problem, right? So that's why I wanted to go out into Timber, because I would be able to live the Psychic from Ghastly on its revenge kill. So that's why I went out to Timber, and even though he protects this turn, I decided, alright, let me just stick with the Mach Punch. I don't need to overpredict anything. So yeah, and then he gives me Onyx, which is nice because that allows me to click, go into Volleyball and then click Knockoff again for free. Now he goes into Ghastly. This is a really interesting play. Well, while most people would just click Psychic here, or think that it would knock out, which I understand, he instead goes for Shadow Ball. Now I don't know if he didn't carry Psychic or what exactly he had, but regardless of if him having Psychic or not, I was going to be able to knock him out with Timber. So that's really nice. I don't really understand why they run Shadow Ball over Psychic. I think Psychic is so much better. I think the top moves right in Ghastly would be Psychic, Thunderbolt, and then a combination of like HP Fire, Substitute, HP Fighting, Sucker Punch. But I don't really see Shadow Ball being that amazing. But either way, he goes for it, and then I click Knockoff, which is really nice. He goes into his Volleyball. Now, as I said earlier, my only real reason to keep Onyx around is to stop Magnemite and to keep Volbeat as its the Volbeat answer. So now that I have basically Ghastly gone and Onyx gone, Magnemite doesn't seem like a problem anymore because I have Timber's Mach Punch to threaten it and Corefish's the Aqua Jet to threaten it. So that's really cool. And I decided to just obviously go into Onyx, and he goes for the Knockoff, which is a fine play. I just didn't think I needed to risk Timber because it was my former priority that hit Magnemite the hardest. So he goes for a Protect. I don't really see what I did there. I think that was actually kind of a misplay, because if I so happened to be the Curse Onyx set, things could have gotten annoying for him. But either way, he goes for Protect, and I just make the safe play of clicking Rock Blast again as he goes into his Timber, and it doesn't really do much. But I go into my Spritzy, which even at this range lives 2 Ice Punches. So I decided, okay, let me just go into my Spritzy, and he in fact just goes for Drain Punch, which does nothing to me, and I'm just going to heal up here. And he goes for a Knockoff, which is interesting, and I kind of expected him to double, but there's no need for me to risk that, and I just go ahead and Protect after the Wish, and I'm going to go ahead and Wish again. This goes hard to Fungus, and now this means I can just go back into my Volleyball, which would be 50% after Rocks. It doesn't die to any single move he clicks except for a Sludge Bomb crit, and even if that happens, it's fine because I still have Abra in the back. So I just go into my Volleyball as he goes for a Sludge Bomb, does not get the poison, but heals my Volleyball up, and then I'm looking back here, and his Volbeat was at 76%. So what I think is it's probably going to be at like 52% after Rocks, or it's basically at an odd number. I think it's supposed to be like 1 more than Divisible 4, so it's probably like 25 HP or something like that. And basically after Rocks, he'll be at 53%. So I don't want him coming in on a U-turn, then gaining all his health back with a Berry Juice. So I decided to just go for a Knockoff because that's a safe play. It hits basically everything on his team. So I knock off the Volleyball, and he's at 36% now. So I can make the more obviously aggressive play, but there's no need for me to since I'm already so ahead. And I just go into Onyx as a safe play. It just goes for a U-turn, obviously making a smart play right there. Now his Volleyball is at like 12% after Rocks, or like it's like 11% after Rocks. It's whatever. But the point is, I see the first opportunity to abuse a possible sack. So that is something that I thought of right there as to how I was going to finish this game, because I could still lose, especially with this Magnemite around, because that's such a threatening Pokemon on his team. So I go ahead to my Onyx as U-turns, and then I go to Spritzy. Now looking back, this is kind of a misplay maybe, but I wanted to keep like the Volt Switch resist for Onyx just in case for the Magnemite. But he unfortunately goes for the Ice Punch and crits my Spritzy, so that means Spritzy is going to be going down to his Timber, and I don't think it, well, obviously didn't matter, but just like looking at how I could play this game different, that was maybe one of them. But either way, this gives me the opportunity to go into my Abra now. Any normal person would just sack their Volibee, so that's why I go ahead, try to abuse that, and sub up on it. Even if he, for some reason, went for knockoff on his Timber, that's fine. I mean, I just knock out the Timber, but I just want to show off this Life Orb Abra set. So go ahead and click Substitute on his Volsac. This is going to be able to let me knock him out with Dazzling Gleam, and he goes into his Magnemite, so my plays, I can just click HP Fighting in front of him, but if he Volt Switches into something like Foongus on a sack, then Magnemite can still be somewhat annoying, I guess. So yeah, I just sub up again just to, in case he Volt Switches and he goes for Flash Cannon. That's going to be basically the game. We'll be able to knock him out with hit him out fighting, and then I'll be able to knock out the last two with Psychic because they die after Rock. So yeah, I think this is a really interesting game. Unfortunately, it didn't really get to showcase my Corphish because Corphish, I think, is one of the best anti-meta mons right now, and I think it really deserves more usage, and if not usage, it at least deserves to be higher on the viability rankings. I think it should probably deserve B+, maybe A-. I think A- might be pushing it, but I think it deserves B for sure, B+, probably, and then A- if you're really pushing it. However, next week I will be playing Plaz. He's one of my good friends, and he's also a pretty good LC player, so I will be uploading another video next week, probably this weekend, showing me playing him, and also show my team, and hopefully this time it'll be a live game, so you guys can see what's going on through my mind as I'm playing. So yeah, peace out, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.